Success isn't about announcements. It's not about telling everybody what you're going to do, how big your dreams are, or how hard you're working. It's about execution. It's about putting in the hours when nobody's watching, when nobody's clapping, when nobody even knows your name. Too many people spend more time talking about what they're going to do instead of doing it. They want credit before they've even put in the work. But let me tell you something. Real winners don't waste their breath on promises. They let the results do the talking. You ever seen a farmer shouting about the harvest before the seeds even hit the ground? No, he puts in the work. He wakes up early. He stays late. He waters. He nurtures. He grinds. And then when the season is right, the results show up. The crops don't announce themselves while they're still underground, but when the time comes, you can't ignore them. That's how success works. That's how greatness is built. See, the problem is people want recognition before they've earned it. They want to post about the hustle instead of actually hustling. They want people to know they're grinding because deep down they're insecure about whether or not they'll actually make it. So they compensate by making noise. They talk about what they're going to do. They hype it up. They tell the world. And then when it doesn't happen, they have to come up with excuses. But when you work in silence, when you lock in and stay focused, there's no pressure to impress anybody. You free yourself from that need for approval, and all that energy goes straight into the work. Silence is a weapon. It keeps you focused. It keeps you from distractions. It keeps you from explaining yourself to people who were never supposed to understand your vision in the first place. The more you talk, the more you invite doubt. You tell people your plans, and suddenly they start projecting their own fears onto you. Are you sure that's going to work? You think you can really do that? I don't know. That sounds risky. And before you know it, their doubts become your doubt. But when you move in silence, there's no room for outside voices. It's just you and the work. I remember when I was just starting out, nobody knew my name, nobody cared what I was doing. And I didn't try to convince them. I didn't beg for attention. I just worked. I studied. I grinded. I sacrificed. I built something in the dark. And one day, the results spoke so loud that people had to notice. They had to pay attention. Because when the work is real, when the results are undeniable, the world has no choice but to listen. You ever notice the loudest people in the room are usually the ones doing the least? They're too busy talking to be working. Meanwhile, the real giants, the ones making real moves, they don't have time to talk. They're building, they're strategizing, they're executing. And then one day they show up and they own the room. Not because they talked about it, but because they became it. Let me tell you something. If you got a dream, if you got a vision, you don't owe anybody an explanation. You don't need to justify your grind. You don't need to convince people that you're serious. Just show them. Just prove it. Let your actions speak. Let your work create the noise. Let your success be the announcement. Because when you really put in the work, you won't have to say it. The world will say it for you. You ever notice how people respect results, not talk? You ever realize how nobody cares about what you say you're going to do, but they pay attention when you do it? That's the difference between people who stay stuck and people who make it. Too many people spend their energy trying to convince others that they are about to blow up, that they're grinding, that they're on the verge of something great. But the truth is, nobody cares about the process until they see the outcome. Nobody's clapping for you in the gym. They clap when they see the championship ring. Nobody's celebrating you while you're up at 4 a.m. putting in work. They celebrate you when they see you win. And that's the biggest mistake people make. They waste time trying to prove to others that they're on the path to greatness instead of just staying quiet and putting in the work. But let me tell you something. The people who are really making moves, they don't have time to explain themselves. They're too busy becoming what they said they would be. Think about it. Have you ever seen a lion roar while it's hunting? No. The lion stays low, stays quiet, stays focused. It doesn't make noise until it's already secured the kill. But too many people are out here roaring before they've caught anything. They're making noise, bragging, announcing their every move, and they're wondering why nothing's happening. They don't realize that the moment you start talking too much, you invite distractions. You invite people's opinions, their doubts, their negativity. You give them space to tell you what you can't do. And if you listen to that long enough, you start believing it. But when you stay silent, when you just keep your head down and grind, something powerful happens. You stop seeking approval. You stop needing validation. You stop waiting for people to tell you, yeah, that's a great idea, or I believe in you. You realize that their belief doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the work. And when you put in that work, when you stay consistent, when you refuse to quit, eventually the results will be so loud that nobody can ignore them. Look around. The most successful people, the ones who really made it, they didn't beg for attention. They didn't go around announcing every little step they were taking. No, they built something. They created something undeniable. And when the world finally saw what they had done, the world had no choice but to respect it. That's the key. You don't have to convince people you're great. You don't have to argue with doubters. You won't have to keep proving yourself to people who don't believe in you. Let the results handle that. Let the work handle that. Because when you've truly put in the effort, when you've truly earned it, success speaks louder than words ever could. So stop explaining, stop announcing, stop looking for applause before the job is done. Just keep moving, keep working, keep grinding, because one day the results will be so big, so undeniable that the world will have no choice but to take notice. And when that day comes, you will have to say a word, the success will say it all. The problem with most people is they want somebody to tell them they're doing a good job. They want somebody to recognize their effort. They need applause, validation, approval. But let me tell you something. If you need somebody to clap for you to keep going, you're never going to make it. If you need recognition before you see results, you've already lost. See, real success doesn't come from being seen. It doesn't come from people liking your posts or praising your hustle. It comes from discipline. It comes from what you do when nobody is watching, when nobody is checking for you, when nobody cares. People who chase validation, they burn out. They post about the grind. They tell everybody what they're about to do. And then when nobody responds, they lose motivation. But discipline doesn't care if people are watching. Discipline doesn't need a crowd. Discipline shows up whether the world notices or not. You ever wonder why so many people start strong but never finish? Why they get excited, they talk about their big plans, they tell everybody how they're about to change their lives, and then a few weeks later they're back to where they started? It's because they were running on hype, not discipline. They were looking for validation instead of building habits. And the second they stopped getting attention, the second people stopped cheering them on, they lost their drive. But when you have discipline, it doesn't matter who's paying attention. It doesn't matter if nobody claps, if nobody believes in you, if nobody supports you, because you believe in you, and that's enough. See, the truth is, the grind is lonely. The process is quiet. The work is unseen. And that's why most people don't make it, because they can't handle the silence. They need noise. They need feedback. They need somebody to tell them you're doing great. But the ones who really succeed, they understand that greatness is built in isolation. It's built in the dark, in the early mornings and late nights, in the sacrifices that nobody sees. Think about the best athletes, the best musicians, the best business minds in the world. You see the championships, the performances, the billion-dollar deals. But what you don't see is the years of practice, the thousands of hours of repetition, the moments of doubt they had to push through alone. You don't see the discipline it took to show up day after day without a single person applauding them. But that's what separates them. That's why they were at the top. So the question is, what are you chasing? Are you chasing likes, shares, comments, recognition? Or are you chasing mastery? Are you chasing greatness? Because if you're chasing greatness, you don't have time to wait for validation. You don't have time to stop and check if people are watching. You don't have time to explain your process to people who weren't meant to understand it. You just work. You just show up. You just do it. And let me tell you something. When you stop looking for approval, when you stop caring if people notice, something powerful happens. You free yourself. You take all that energy you used to waste trying to impress people, and you put it into the work. And when you do that consistently, relentlessly with everything you've got, one day the results will speak for themselves. And you won't need validation because success will be your proof. Everybody wants success. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to be at the top. But the truth is, most people don't want to do what it takes every single day to get there. They want the feeling of progress, but they don't want to commit to the process. See, motivation is good. It'll get you started. It'll get you excited. It'll make you set goals, make plans, tell yourself that this is your time. But motivation fades. It doesn't last. It comes and goes like the wind. And that's where most people fail. Because when the excitement disappears, they stop, they slow down, they give up. But the ones who make it, the ones who rise to the top, they aren't driven by motivation. They're driven by consistency. You don't become great by working hard some days. You don't build something legendary by putting in effort only when you feel like it. You become great by showing up every day, whether you feel like it or not, whether people are watching or not, whether it's easy or hard, whether you're inspired or exhausted. You show up, you put in the reps, you keep going. And that's the difference between people who dream and people who do. See, it's easy to work when everything feels good. It's easy to show up when you're motivated. But what do you do when you're tired? What do you do when nobody is checking for you? When it seems like nothing is working? When it feels like all this effort isn't leading anywhere? That's where most people quit. That's where most people break. But you've got to decide that quitting isn't an option. You've got to decide that the work has to get done no matter how you feel. Because success isn't built in the moments when you feel unstoppable. It's built in the moments when you feel like stopping, but don't. Think about it. Does a bodybuilder get strong by lifting weights once in a while? No. He builds muscle by showing up in the gym day after day, pushing himself past his limits, even when he doesn't feel like it. Does a champion athlete become the best by practicing only when it's convenient? No, they train when they're tired. They train when it's uncomfortable. They train when nobody is clapping for them, and that's why they win. You can't afford to be on and off with your grind. You can't afford to be hot one day and cold the next, because inconsistency kills dreams. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you from seeing results. And that's why so many people never reach their full potential. They start strong, but they don't stay committed. They put in work for a while, but when they don't see results fast enough, they stop. And that's the biggest mistake you can make, quitting before the breakthrough. Because what if your breakthrough was coming tomorrow, but you gave up today? What if the results were right around the corner, but you stopped showing up? You've got to stop looking for shortcuts. Stop expecting quick results. Stop thinking success is supposed to come easy. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes years of work that nobody sees. And that's why consistency is your greatest weapon. Because most people won't stay committed long enough to see the rewards. Most people won't keep going when things get hard. But if you do, if you refuse to quit, if you refuse to slow down, if you make up your mind that no matter what happens, you will keep working, then success isn't a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. Not everybody is going to understand your vision. Not everybody's going to believe in you, and that's okay. You weren't put on this earth to convince anybody of what's inside you. Too many people waste their energy trying to explain themselves to folks who will never get it, trying to prove something to people who don't even matter. But let me tell you something. You don't owe anybody an explanation for why you work the way you do. You don't have to justify your grind. You don't have to ask for permission to be great. If they don't see it now, let them watch later when the results speak for themselves. The biggest mistake you can make is looking for approval from people who don't have the capacity to see what you see. Some people can't support you because they've never seen success at the level you're aiming for. Some people can encourage you because your dream is bigger than anything they've ever believed was possible. And instead of pushing past their own fears, they'll try to put those fears on you. That sounds risky. Are you sure that's going to work? I don't know. Maybe you should have a backup plan. And if you're not careful, you'll start to listen. You'll start to let their doubts become your doubts. you'll start second guessing yourself, not because you don't believe, but because they don't. You've got to protect your vision. You've got to guard your energy. You've got to be mindful of who you let speak into your life, because some people aren't offering wisdom, they're offering fear. Some people aren't giving you advice to help you, they're projecting their own insecurities. And if you let them, they will talk you right out of your own destiny. They will convince you to settle. They will convince you to quit, not because they're bad people, but because they don't have the faith to see what you see. And that's why you got to be careful who you share your dreams with. You don't need to announce every move you make. You don't need to explain every step of the process. You don't need to respond to every opinion, every critique, every doubt that comes your way. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them count you out. While they're talking, you're working. While they're doubting, while they're waiting to see you fail, you're setting yourself up to win. People will try to distract you. People will try to bait you into arguments, try to get a reaction out of you, but that's wasted energy. If you stop every time somebody questions you, if you slow down every time somebody doesn't believe in you, you'll never make it to the finish line. Your job is not to prove people wrong. Your job is to prove yourself right. Your job is to do exactly what you said you were going to do, not by talking, not by explaining, but by doing, by showing up, by delivering results. The most successful people don't waste time defending themselves. They don't waste time explaining their every move. They put their heads down and they work. And by the time the world finally sees what they've built, it's too late for doubt. By the time people realize they should have believed, the results are already speaking for themselves. So let them doubt you. Let them misunderstand you. Let them think whatever they want to think. Your only focus is to work. Your only mission is to keep going. Because when it's all said and done, when the results are undeniable, when the success is too big to ignore, you won't have to say a word. The proof will be right in front of them. Everybody wants the reward. Everybody wants the success. Everybody wants to be at the top. What most people don't realize is that success has a cost. You don't just wake up one day and find yourself living your dream. You pay for it in discipline, in sacrifice, in relentless effort. The reason most people never get what they want is that they aren't willing to give up what's holding them back. They want to win, but they don't want to let go of their distractions. They want to grow, but they don't want to leave behind the habits that are keeping them stuck. You cannot hold onto comfort and expect to elevate at the same time. At some point, you have to decide, what do you want more? The easy way or the right way? See, everybody talks about wanting to be great. Everybody loves the idea of success. But when it's time to put in the work, when it's time to make sacrifices, that's where people fall off. That's where people start making excuses. I don't have time. I'm too tired. I'll start next week. And before they know it, years have passed and they're still in the same place, wondering why nothing changed. But nothing changed because they never changed. They were too busy holding on to comfort, too busy making excuses, too busy trying to take shortcuts, when the truth is there are no shortcuts. Success requires you to let go of the things that don't serve you. It requires you to be honest with yourself about what's in your way. And sometimes that means letting go of bad habits. Sometimes that means letting go of distractions. And sometimes that means letting go of people. There are people in your life right now who don't want to see you win. People who don't push you to be better. People who drain your energy, waste your time, keep you stuck in the same cycle. And if you're serious about success, you have to be willing to walk away from anything and anyone who is slowing you down. That's hard for a lot of people to accept because they're afraid of being alone. They're afraid of losing friendships. But let me tell you something. Elevation requires separation. You cannot take everybody with you. You cannot grow if you're constantly surrounded by people who don't think big, who don't challenge you, who don't inspire you to be better. And the truth is, the people who really support you, they won't feel threatened by your growth. They won't try to hold you back. But the ones who do, the ones who make you feel guilty for wanting more, the ones who laugh at your ambition, the ones who don't take your dreams seriously, those are the ones you got to distance yourself from. This journey isn't for everybody. Not everybody is willing to pay the price. Not everybody is willing to do what it takes. But if you are willing to make the sacrifices, to put in the work, to cut off anything that is keeping you from your purpose, then success isn't a matter of luck. It's not a matter of chance. It's a matter of time. You've got to decide what matters more, the life you want or the comfort you're afraid to let go of, because you can't have both. You either pay the price now or you pay the price later in regret. But either way, there's a cost. The question is, are you willing to pay it? Most people want results now. They want success now. They want to put in a little bit of effort and see immediate rewards. And when it doesn't happen as fast as they expected, they get discouraged. They start questioning whether it's even worth it. They start looking for shortcuts, looking for the easy way out. But let me tell you something. Nothing great happens overnight. Nothing lasting is built in a day. Every true success story is a product of patience, a product of relentless effort, day in and day out, even when it feels like nothing is happening. See, that's the part most people don't want to hear. They don't want to hear that it's going to take years of grinding before they see real results. They don't want to hear that success isn't just about working hard for a little while. It's about staying consistent even when progress feels slow, even when it feels like you're putting in all this effort and nothing is changing. But that's how it works. That's how real success is built. Think about a seed. You plant it, and for a long time, it looks like nothing is happening. You water it, you nurture it, but on the surface, you see no growth. And that's where most people give up. They assume it's not working. They assume it's pointless. So they stop watering it. They stop taking care of it. And because they stop, they never get to see the tree that was about to grow. But the ones who keep watering, keep nurturing, even when they don't see progress right away, they're the ones who get to experience the harvest. Your dreams are the same way. Your success is the same way. Just because you don't see results right away doesn't mean the work isn't paying off. Just because it feels slow doesn't mean it's not happening. Growth is always happening, even in the moments when it's not visible. The problem is most people quit before they ever get to see it. You've got to stop expecting instant results. You've got to stop measuring your progress based on how fast it happens. It's not about speed. It's about stamina. It's about endurance. It's about whether or not you have the patience to keep going, to keep pushing, to keep believing even when it looks like nothing is happening. Because let me tell you something, the results will come. But only for the ones who are willing to wait. Only for the ones who trust the process. Only for the ones who understand that success is not about if it will happen, but when. So stop looking for quick wins. Stop getting frustrated when things don't move as fast as you want them to. Stay the course. Keep working. Keep showing up, because one day you're going to look back and you're going to realize that every single step you took, every single moment of doubt you pushed through, every single time you kept going when you felt like stopping, it all mattered. It all added up, and it all led you to exactly where you were meant to be. When you finally make it, when the results start showing, when all that work you put in behind the scenes finally pays off, people are going to look at you like you just got lucky. Like you just woke up one day and everything magically fell into place. They're going to see the success, but they won't see the struggle. They won't see the nights you stayed up grinding when everybody else was sleeping. They won't see the sacrifices, the losses, the pain you pushed through just to get to this moment. They'll just see the outcome and assume it was easy. But that's okay. Let them think what they want. Let them believe it was overnight. Let them assume it was luck, because you know the truth. You know what it took. You know the blood, the sweat, the tears. You know about the moments when you felt like quitting but found a way to keep going. You know about the times when nobody believed in you, but you had to believe in yourself anyway. You know what it took to get here, and that's why you don't need to explain yourself to anybody. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to talk. You don't have to convince anybody. You don't have to argue with people about whether or not you deserve it. The results speak for themselves. The work speaks for itself. The grind speaks for itself. And once the results start showing, it's too late for doubt. It's too late for debate. You earned this. See, when you work in silence, when you keep your head down and focus on the mission, people will doubt you in the beginning. They'll question you. They'll laugh at you. They'll think you're wasting your time. But when it's all said and done, they won't be laughing anymore. They won't be questioning anymore because the results will be undeniable. The proof will be standing right in front of them, and there won't be anything left to say. That's why you don't need to announce your moves. You don't need to explain your process. Just do the work. Just stay locked in, because one day the same people who doubted you, the same people who ignored you, the same people who counted you out, they're going to be the ones asking how you did it. And when that moment comes, you won't have to say a word. The proof will already be there.